Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Week 11 Top 25 review. A lot of crazy games this week, a lot of major changes this week. But with that being said, a like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. Let's get straight into this. So to start things off, we have Virginia at Louisville. And this game might be a little bit closer than it really was. So my prediction was Virginia. I wanted to, say, well, Virginia likes to do good on these road games, but it's at Louisville. And Louisville so far has been fabulous at home. And it ended up being a close game again for Virginia on the road. For some reason, Virginia just plays good on the road. But this score is a little slanted, so both teams had a missed field goal, must be accounted for. Louisville had a blocked punt in the end zone, which basically gave them a touchdown. But then Louisville threw a 28-yard pick six. So both teams kind of have given touchdowns. But then there's this wacky touchdown that you've probably seen already, about like this dude who catches it and runs down the right side of the field and just gets clobbered. And I think he got hurt and he fumbles it to the side, and Malik Washington picks it up and just runs it down the sidelines for a touchdown. That type of football pisses me off sometimes because it's like it's in the rule book and it has to happen, but it's just like, dude, like, come on, like that's very, very lucky. Take that touchdown off, 17-31. Louisville still gets shit done, but whatever, count it on. Virginia is sometimes a respectable opponent, and I do like Virginia's quarterback a lot. I think he's gonna be like pretty good in the future. Says here he's a freshman, so yeah, he's got a future. It looks like, as long as he stays healthy. But yeah, Louisville, they had a slow start to the game. Well, I mean slow start, but they got that blocked punt, which kind of skews it. Really, take away the blocked punt, the only points scored in the first half was touchdown by Louisville. So they definitely had a slow start. Virginia scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and then the fourth quarter was all Louisville. So I think Louisville is still a pretty solid team. I think this is an underrated win, and it was a little bit closer than it actually was. Louisville is still one of the best teams at home right now. So, yeah, I can't believe this Louisville team is as good as they are. It really was. I had them going 3-loss, but I shit on this team. I said Maryland should be ranked instead, but boy, was I wrong. I mean, this Louisville team's actually pretty damn good. Oklahoma State at UCF. Damn, are we starting off the video strong? So I believe in my prediction video, I said, I want to say Oklahoma State wins this, but every time a team is on the up, especially in the Big 12, they like to give us these close calls or losses on the road. But I still gave Oklahoma State the win. Oh my gosh, what in the world happened? Everybody on Oklahoma State played like shit. I mean, it was like it was a blowout. They went into the half down 0-24. They open up the second half with the field goal, so you're like, okay, maybe Oklahoma State will start to bring things back. Boom, 92-yard touchdown run. And then it's just they don't do anything after that. Allen Bowman for Oklahoma State, 3 interceptions. Ollie Gordon, he had 25 yards on the ground. This dude was getting Heisman talk. I was giving him Heisman talk. I was really interested in this dude. He was going crazy just for him to drop this absolute bomb. And UCF played like damn Bama. Like, damn, I don't know what year. Fuck, we'll say 2019 LSU. I mean, this team looks so good. The quarterback for UCF, John Rise Plumlee, who, I mean, I've heard about him, but whatever. He went 11 for 18 on passes, 299 yards, and 3 touchdowns against the number 15 team in the country. The running back had 24 carries for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dude, these guys were playing like dogs. And I do think this UCF team actually was better than people thought. They were missing John Rice Plumlee for the Kansas State game, for the Baylor game, and for the Kansas game. If you put in your starting quarterback in those games, you probably don't win all of them, but you probably make it a lot closer. You definitely don't lose that Baylor game because you're just going to put up way more points. You might not even lose that Kansas State game because already your team put up a great performance. They put when John Rice Plumlee comes back in, they take Oklahoma to a 2-point game at Oklahoma. But then, of course, John Rice Plumlee, as I'm trying to, vouch for him, drops a bomb against West Virginia and throws 3 picks and loses at home 41-28. And then they barely go on the road and win against Cincinnati. But I do think that is like kind of a little bit of a rivalry. Those two teams have a lot of history. Those two teams really ruled over the AAC for a while. So, yeah, they're probably going to duke it out there. And finally, I feel like UCF with this game has, caught their flow. They've caught their drift. Finally, they get this unbelievably, just embarrassing. They deliver this embarrassing loss to Oklahoma State. I mean, that was something I forgot to say. I literally said when Oregon State was favored by 3 points on the road twice, they lost to Washington State by 3 and they lost to U of A by 3. Both times Oregon State was favored by 2.5 or 3. Oklahoma State was favored by 2.5, and they just got slaughtered. I feel like if a ranked team is going on the road to just an unranked opponent and they're favored by only 3, just give me the other team. I mean, UCF, man, they had 600 yards of offense. And ultimately, Oklahoma State, they just turned the ball over a whole bunch. 4 turnovers, failed to convert on 4th down 2 out of 3 times. They were 2 for 12 on 3rd down efficiency. They sucked. I mean, this was just unbelievable, ridiculous, garbage, ass cheeks, bunghole performance. Nothing else needs to be said. Michigan State at Ohio State. I'm just going to gloss over this one. Everybody expected this to happen, and it did. So it's really sad to see how bad Michigan State has become because, 2021, this team was a 2-loss team and 11-2, really good team. They were ranked at number 3 at one point. Now they're just 3-7. It's like, how does that happen? Oh my gosh, this game. I said Penn State would pull off the upset, and then, of course, Jim Harbaugh got suspended. That didn't really change my opinion on the match. Penn State's really just, I don't think they're that good. But at least Penn State tries to throw the ball. I mean, seriously, I get you've got Blake Corum and a very good offensive line, but dude, I think I heard Gus say Michigan didn't attempt to pass in the second half. That's the shittiest, most boring fucking dog shit, terrible football ever. If Michigan really wants to run the ball the whole time, don't put them in the college football playoff. Please bless us with an Ohio State win over them because I don't want to watch this team go on to win the national championship fucking 6-3 because they hand the ball off the whole time and they've got a really good defense. I just don't want to see that dog shit. J.J. McCarthy is crowned one of the highest completion rating percentages in the league, just under Bo Nix. Well, anybody can do that if they throw 8 fucking passes in a game and complete 7 of them. Nobody wants to fucking see that dog shit. Blake Corum carried the ball 26 times for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in a world, I don't even want to say they dominated on the running game. Yes, they had 227 yards rushing. But overall, over the course of 4 quarters, all they really did was run the ball. That's not that good. Yes, in some world, you could say Penn State couldn't stop the run because, after all, Blake Corum 3-yard run. Donovan Edwards, 22-yard run. Blake Corum, 30-yard run. It's 3 of their 3 touchdowns came from the ground game. But, of course, that's only going to happen. You're only going to get touchdowns from the ground game if all you do is run the ball. They really didn't dominate. I think Penn State really just wasn't good enough to do anything. If a team with an actual offense and a pretty good defense, which Penn State does not fit those categories. Penn State's got a great defense, but not a good offense. If Michigan goes up against somebody with a good defense and a good offense like Michigan themselves, I don't think Michigan can compete. I don't think they can. Unless they can, show us that, maybe they were just handing the ball off because it's this fucking easy, light work, dog shit game. give us the win, just hand the ball off the whole time? Sure. But until I see J.J. McCarthy pass the ball, I mean, really, like, if they go up against FSU is like, FSU's got a pretty damn good defense. Like, they've so far held LSU to one of the lowest point totals all year. If they go up against Georgia, like, I don't know if Michigan's going to survive, quite frankly. Could this play calling be because Jim Harbaugh is suspended and they've got this other guy in? Possibly. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh was making the play calls. I can only assume so, though. I feel like that's logical. But if that's the case and this dude was just calling the run game, he's got to, switch it up a bit for these stronger opponents. Nonetheless, though, Michigan wins playing boring, stupid, dumb football, like not enjoyable, fun to watch football. I could not keep my eyes open watching this game. I mean, seriously, naming it the game of the week just for it to be the shithole game, it's really, really just like, I don't even know if teams in the Big Ten are good right now. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, like everybody crowns Iowa's horseshit offense, amazing defense. I feel like Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State fit those categories just on more advanced levels. Iowa, fabulous defense, horrific offense. Ohio State, fabulous defense, horrific offense. Ohio State probably shows one of the most offensive capabilities just because of like Marvin Harrison Jr., and they have shown that they can drive the ball. Maybe Michigan, because, their run game is amazing and their O-line is fabulous. But really, it's just like all these teams are either just more advanced versions of Iowa or just worse versions. I mean, the Big Ten really is just all about their defense, and I don't know if they're going to be able to perform outside their conference. It's real. I know defense wins championships and shit, but like to an extent, you can't just be all defense and no offense because you're going to just get railed. Bama at Kentucky. I said this one would be like, close at halftime, like 14-20 with Bama leading or something. Bama, like, owned this game. They owned the fuck out of this game. The final score is a little bit slanted. UK put on the weird little touchdown at the end to make it 21-49. I mean, going into halftime, it was 28-7. Wasn't very close at all. Bama destroyed. Texas Tech at Kansas. I said this one would be close, but not because I was expecting Kansas's quarterback to be out. I didn't know if that was pre-said or if he got hurt in the game, but they've got this dude. Kansas had this dude, Cole Ballard, in. I'm pretty sure it's his first start. It says he's a freshman. He went 9 for 20, 124 yards and a pick, which put Kansas's entire offense on the ground game with Devin Neal, who had 19 carries, 137 yards, and a touchdown. Devin Neal in 19 carries topped Texas Tech's running back's numbers, and the Texas Tech running back had 33 carries versus Devin Neal's 19. Texas Tech's running back had 33 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. Devin Neal did that in 19 plus 4 yards. The quarterback for Texas Tech was 19 for 25, 176 yards and an interception. Both teams looked very split, and I don't even know what happened. I swear Kansas was lining up the go-ahead field goal to win the game. I swear. And then all of a sudden, it's just Texas Tech is taking the W. This is a really sad loss for Kansas because really this shouldn't be a loss they should be taking. It's a home game. You got to win the home games. I mean, they went on the road and beat Iowa State. That was a huge win because it's just a road game. They've got to finish off the year at Cincinnati, which I feel like could be tougher than people expect. But anyways, back to this game. Both teams were very split in yards. The only difference I could see is Kansas was 0 for 2 on fourth downs. Texas Tech was 2 for 2, so maybe that was just a killer. Really, just a bad game for Kansas. Just a lot of bad games in the Big 12 today or on Saturday. Oh, yeah, final score was 16-13. Texas Tech took the W. Texas Tech really was supposed to be a good team this year, or at least in my eyes, and they just have not lived up. Really disappointing. I had this team going like 10-2, so yeah. Tulsa at Tulane. Man, oh man. I followed the line. I said, Tulane would kill this team. Tulsa hasn't been good at all this year. Losing 10-69 to SMU, 42-10 against Rice, 66-17 against Oklahoma, 43-10 against Washington. I mean, this Tulsa team doesn't look good. I do think this is a rivalry, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, but man, Tulane loves to play this game where they get up early and then they're like, all right, let them come back. It's like they got up 14-zip. Going into the second quarter. Then Tulsa puts on a touchdown. It's like, okay, it's a touchdown. But then they kick a field goal, make it a 4-point game. Nothing from that point on until the early third quarter. It's a kickoff return for Tulane that puts them up another touchdown. With that being said, there were from the end of the first quarter, or I guess the start of the second quarter to the end of the game, there were no offensive touchdowns for Tulane. It was a 100-yard kickoff return that pretty much put Tulane ahead. And really, I mean, they only won because Tulsa couldn't convert the 2-point conversion. I guess Tulane's got a good defense. It's Tulsa. It's not good. I mean, I'd like to vouch for this Tulane team, but no. No, they're not performing good at all. They're barely scraping by every single game. They've got good wins, like at Memphis is a good win. But then it feels like they've been slowly closing the gap. From that Ole Miss game, they went on the road to kick the crap out of Southern Miss, then kick the crap out of Nichols, then kick the crap out of UAB. Then win a closer one against Memphis, win an even closer one against North Texas, win a super close one against Rice, win a super close one against East Carolina, and win a super close one against Tulsa. On the road at FAU, I don't even know if I can favor them, man. FAU might win that game with the way Tulane's performing. But, you got to keep the one loss previously, like last year, number 9 Tulane team. You got to give them credit for putting up the record they have. I mean, these small schools are, even though they're small schools and they're not like as good as Bama and shit, they still are able to provide good games and they are competition. So respect the fact that they've only gone one loss from this point on. And it is to Ole Miss. That also was the only game Tulane didn't have their starting quarterback. So Tulane still needs to be ranked, but I just don't know if I can, favor them next week. Arizona, Colorado, I said this one will be closer than people like it to be. It was way closer, and I mean, not even out of just spite for Arizona. Colorado sold this game. I seriously, was watching this. Well, let's talk about this first off. It's a really back-and-forth game, actually really interesting and fun game to watch. Colorado starts off the game with an early touchdown. U of A strikes back with a touchdown. End of first quarter, Colorado puts on a touchdown. Then early second quarter or mid-second quarter, U of A puts on a touchdown. Then Colorado late second quarter puts on a touchdown. Then U of A very late second quarter puts on a field goal. And then right before half, Colorado kicks a field goal. Third quarter, U of A ties it up. At the start of third quarter, end of third quarter, Colorado goes up a touchdown. That was it for Colorado. They just said bye. I don't know how it turned into such a defensive stalemate. Honestly, I thought the fourth quarter was going to pick up. I thought there was going to be 21 points by both teams in the fourth quarter. Because literally 5 seconds into the fourth quarter, U of A scored a touchdown, silence. Now, granted, Colorado missed a go-ahead field goal, which ultimately probably would have tied the game up. Although U of A did go down the field really quickly and would have scored a touchdown, but Colorado missed a field goal, and then they blundered. I mean, how do you let the team you're going against, they just said, we're going to hold you to third down, but then we're going to let you convert the first down, and instead of letting them go in the end zone when Colorado has no timeouts, we're going to tackle you at the 1-yard line, let you get the first down, and pretty much say, hey, drain the clock out and kick a field goal. Again, I'm not even saying this out of spite for U of A. I'm genuinely, it's just terrible. It was just terrible football by Colorado. You just, when he crosses that line and, like, he's pushing the pack forward, he's got it, just let him score so you guys can get the ball back, potentially tie it and send it to overtime, because you're not gonna rely on him to miss a pooch kick field goal to go to overtime. You got to get that ball back, and Colorado didn't do that, and then the pooch kick, and U of A scored. So Colorado just fumbled the bag really, really hard. U of A escapes with the win. I am really interested in the U of A Utah game, though, because seriously, like, I can't determine these teams. U of A's been performing really well, but after all, I mean, a 3-point win against Oregon State, in which Oregon State sold. A 3-point win against Colorado, in which Colorado sold. A good win over a ranked UCLA team that just lost to ASU at UCLA. It's like, I don't know if U of A's actually good. I don't know if they're just scraping by. U of A's got to play. They get to host Utah. It's definitely going to be a packed game because they're like right next to each other in the rankings. But Utah just put up a good performance at Washington. They also put 55 down on ASU. U of A is now ranked. It's going to be a very interesting match. I don't really know who to favor, honestly. Baylor at Kansas State. We don't even need to talk about this one. Baylor is horseshit, and Kansas State likes to kick the shit out of the smaller team or the worst teams in the Big 12. And that's exactly what they did. Simply. Miami at FSU. I said this one would be closer than people like it to be. Just because this one, I feel like Miami FSU is always a close game, no matter the circumstances. I feel like it's always tough, fun, interesting game, and it was to an extent. So it was like a close game. It was a close game for a while, going into halftime 10-10. It looks like a defensive matchup, which expected. Then Miami opens up the second half with the field goal. Then Florida State bounces back with the field goal, and then a 38-yard, great run by Trey Benson for a touchdown to put him up 20-13. Then Keon Coleman takes a punt return in the fourth quarter to put him in great field position, and then of course he catches a touchdown pass, go up 27-13. The pass. Then Miami goes and scores an 85-yard touchdown pass to put it 20-27. But this touchdown pass was like the most like just a fail by Florida State's defense. I thought it was going to be picked and taken way back into Miami territory. One dude is like wrapping him up. The safety flies in there and like tries to pick it off, but then tries to tackle him. And I mean, it's a great ball. It gets placed right where Jacoby needs it to be, and he catches it. But the Florida State safety just like takes out the defender that was guarding the dude, and then Jacoby George can just like trot down the sideline. So it's just a massive like fail by Florida State's defense that gave Miami a touchdown. Still, nonetheless, a touchdown. It was a great ball. It was a great catch, great route. Still a great play, but still, I feel like the certain circumstances still made this game a little bit closer because it was pretty silent after that. That was with 8 minutes and 22 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and no points were scored from that point on. Also, something to note, that Emory Williams, the guy who came in after Tyler Van Dyke was benched apparently, he got hurt, and the lady announcer had like a really awkward moment where it's like, she was like, I can hear him crying on the sidelines. It's like, why you gotta do bro like that? Like, that's not something you really put on blast. Like, he's probably gonna like look at that and be like, bro, you telling all these people I was crying? Like, man, I just something I thought was kind of fucking weird. But he got hurt. Then Tyler Van Dyke comes in, of course, with the bench and how he's been performing recently. He was not able to get it done, and Miami loses, but still a close, fun, interesting game. Florida State remains undefeated. They're so for real, man. They're so for real. I don't understand. I feel like Florida State is pretty underrated. I honestly I want to put them above Michigan and Ohio State in the top 20 or in the top 4. Utah at Washington. Wow, that was weird. I was like, Utah at Washington. This game was actually like all Utah for a while. My prediction was Utah would show some offense because Washington's defense is weaker, but would it be able to pull it off at Washington? I mean, wasn't terribly wrong, but wasn't terribly right either. Bryson Barnes is like, I don't know, man. I feel like he's the most fraudulent quarterback in the league right now. He was 17 for 30, 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks, which isn't the worst stats. I mean, 2 picks is pretty bad, but it isn't necessarily the worst stats. But let me just say, this was the weirdest game I have ever seen. So going into halftime, it's a pretty normal football game. It looks like Utah's going to put up some fight this game, make it tough. I'm really please Washington win this game because, I want a Pac-12 team in the college football playoff. But they go into halftime up 28-24. It looks like it's an offensive matchup. Somehow Utah has gone from an extremely defensive team to an all-offensive team. And then they just didn't do anything in the second half. The third quarter was all Washington, kicking a field goal, scoring a touchdown on a 33-yard pass. But then Utah, here's where things get just wild. Utah throws a bad pick, which ends up turning into a pick 6, right? Wrong. The Washington defender gets this easy pick and takes it down the sidelines. And just right before, not even right before, literally looked like at the 2-yard line. Even I saw it when I was watching the game. Bro just drops the ball and it splats in the ground for anybody to grab. And all the Washington players are like, let's go, touchdown, run right past it. And then one Utah person is smart enough to get down on that ball. And of course, there's one Washington player who saw it way back there and tried sprinting over there, but the Utah player was way closer. And Utah ends up recovering a fumble at their 1-yard line. It's wow, Washington, that might cost you the game. Safety. Washington gets a safety. It's so 7 turns into 2. Now Washington's got the ball back, and they're not able to score on that drive. And then they miss a field goal. And it's it was just the circumstances. I just was so what? I sat up and I left the room for a second because it's just what am I even watching right now? And this week had a lot of those moments. What the hell am I even watching? Virginia's fumble picked up for a touchdown. Miami just throwing this pass into a tight pocket, and then the Florida State players tackle each other, and he takes it down the sidelines. Washington dropping the ball at the 1-yard line, Utah picking it up, and then Washington getting a safety. It's what was happening? If that doesn't really sum up this year, I don't know what will. But Washington still pulls off the victory. I wouldn't say it's a good victory, but for Washington right now, every victory is a good victory because they want to remain undefeated because I don't think they're beating Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. If Oregon makes the Pac-12 championship, I think they still will definitely be able to do it. But, if Oregon State, Washington's got to play at Oregon State. And if Oregon State wins that, then that's huge for Oregon State because Oregon State's losses are Washington State and U of A. Oregon has lost to Washington and, of course, nobody else. But then Oregon State and Oregon got to play each other. If Oregon State wins that game somehow, Oregon State's in. And now we've got a stupid 2-loss team in the Pac-12 championship, which could, shit things up. I want Washington to try and stay undefeated, and then Oregon to, not lose another game. So we get a 1-loss team and then an undefeated team, so we get one person in the college football playoff. Or Washington goes 1 loss and then same thing. But I wouldn't count on it like that. Still, Washington stays undefeated. Whoop-de-doo. Tennessee at Missouri. I don't understand why people were giving this Tennessee team hype. They haven't performed like it really at all this year. I still gave Tennessee the benefit of the doubt. You got to pay attention to the fact that the professionals are favoring Tennessee in this game, and they do still have weapons. I still was like, Missouri should win this game. It wasn't even close. I mean, it really wasn't even close. Tennessee really, I mean, it was an all-defensive first quarter, no point score, but then to open up the second quarter, Missouri kicks 3. Then right away, Joe Milton, third, 46-yard pass for a touchdown. Which, for me, it's like when I see like a team either score a touchdown or score a field goal, and then the team that isn't favored score a touchdown, and it's like a 50-yard pass, it's like the other team's going to take off. It's just like for some reason I feel like that happens a lot, but I'm not going to tie that to this. But still, it ended up happening because instantly after, touchdown Missouri, field goal Missouri to go up 7-13 and a half. Open up the third quarter, touchdown. Then late third quarter, field goal. Mid-fourth quarter, touchdown. Mid-fourth quarter, pick 6. I mean, Missouri defensively shut this team down. Absolutely. Offensively, they cooked them. I mean, I think Missouri had 530 yards. Really should have put up more points. Tennessee had 350 yards. They just kept turning the ball over. Tennessee's just not that good of a team. I don't understand why people have hyped this Tennessee team up. After all, they went on the road and got their butts kicked by Florida. They got their butts kicked on the road at Bama, and they got their butts kicked at Missouri. Those are 3 road games, and they also struggled at Kentucky. But still, even at their home games, they 7-point win against A&M, 17-point win against Austin Peay. Like, yes, they get to host Georgia, but I don't think Tennessee's a good enough team to win that game. Sorry. Missouri is extremely underrated right now. They're a 2-loss team. They're 8-2 currently. They get to host Florida. They should absolutely win that game. And then they're on the road at Arkansas. I don't want to say they win that game just because, road games are killers. And Arkansas just, fuck Arkansas. They're just going to do some dumb shit probably. So I won't say anything about it. But Missouri, they can go 10-2. Would be a great year for them. Their losses are against respectable opponents. They're a pretty damn good team. Rutgers at Iowa. Man, Iowa just said, fuck it, dude. Like, let's prove the world right. Let's prove the world right. After their embarrassing loss to Minnesota with their punt return back for a touchdown taken off the board, and they ended up losing to a 3-point win at Northwestern. And just a terrible, boring, awful game to watch. They go play Rutgers, which this looks like it could be one of the toughest games. I said Rutgers wouldn't be able to perform against the Iowa defense. They definitely were not. Rutgers were held scoreless. And I mean, dude, Iowa actually showed offense. Can you believe it? 21 first downs, 9 for 18 on third down efficiency. 50% for Iowa's pretty damn good. 2 for 2 on fourth down efficiency. 402 yards of offense. I'm so proud of you, Iowa. I'm so proud. 1 turnover, which was a pick, but Rutgers also had a pick. On the other side of the ball, Rutgers had 7 first downs, 2 for 11 on fourth down efficiency, and 127 yards, as well as 40 yards of penalties. Iowa had 0 yards of penalties. Iowa had 38 minutes of possession time. Rutgers had 21. Truly, Iowa just dominated this game. I don't know why they took it so personally against Rutgers. Why don't they do it against like a rival like Minnesota, or Purdue? Just absolutely put away the opponents. No, they took it personally against Rutgers. Iowa could finish out the year 10-2. I mean, big win here. They host Illinois. I don't want to say they can win that because they really just struggle every single game. And then at Nebraska could be a very sketchy one. If Nebraska loses and is 5-6, that game becomes really scary because, they're fighting for bowl game eligibility for the first time in what feels like 20 bajillion years. And it's against a rival. But Iowa, this was a pretty impressive win. Stanford at Oregon State. I said it'd be an annihilation. It was an annihilation. Stanford likes to put up a great close game, maybe even pull off the win, then they just get killed. Then the great close game, then they get killed. It's like you can never choose. I chose right. They ended up getting killed. Ole Miss at Georgia. people they had respectable takes and whatnot, but I just didn't see it happening. I called for the annihilation. It was an annihilation. It was pretty close to start the game off, with Judkins scoring a touchdown right off, pretty much off rip. Then Georgia, 2 touchdowns. But then Ole Miss bounces back and started the second quarter to tie things up. Pretty much silence until 8 minutes and 50 seconds, where Ole Miss kicked a 29-yard field goal. Jackson Dart looked like shit. He was 10 for 17, 112 yards at a pick. Judkins was all right, 22 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But, in 22 carries, I mean, it's a pretty good performance, but 22 carries, you've got to put up some amount of yards. Wow. The running game for Georgia, holy, 9 carries, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Carson Beck passing was 18 for 25, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. That really sums up Ole Miss. They've got a pretty good offense, but it's just a terribly mid defense. Pretty, honestly, probably could say bad offense or defense. It showed. I don't understand why people were hyping up the road game for Ole Miss at night in Georgia. It's like, no way. West Virginia at Oklahoma, I called for the annihilation. It was the annihilation. Nothing to be said there. Oklahoma needed a win. Texas at TCU. I went ahead and watched this one back because I was like, what the hell was going on? I mean, Texas even had a fat given in this game. I saw it coming from a mile away. The way TCU picked the ball off. Well, let me show you my prediction first. I said it'd be a close one because, last time these teams are playing and Texas has been struggling, it was a closer one. Texas really led the game. I mean, they were up 26-6 going into halftime. And it was pretty much all TCU from that point on. But TCU got like a pick, an underthrown ball by Quinn. And he picks it off, and he starts running it all over the field. And I'm like, is he going to take it back? Is he going to take it back? But then all of a sudden, this Texas dude comes sprinting up from behind. I'm like, oh, God, the TCU player doesn't see him. He gets hit from behind, fumbles it. Texas recovers. It's like, all right. So Texas got a fat given there, as well as, TCU just really couldn't. TCU couldn't, perform. It's not a good TCU team. I mean, they're 4-6, but, dude, really, Texas has to figure it out, man. They just got Quinn Ewers back, and, I mean, really, they lost to Oklahoma, played in a really close one against Houston. They killed BYU, but BYU is not good. And then they go into overtime against Kansas State at Texas, and then they go on the road and barely beat TCU. They've got to go on the road at Iowa State, and there's so much upset potential there just because it's the last time these two teams might play, and these 6-4 teams like to get rowdy at the end of the year. And then they play Texas Tech at Texas. I can't even count on it, man. I can't even count on it. Texas has to perform. Otherwise, I can't vouch for them anymore. Florida at LSU. This game was looking hella close, and it was scaring me. And for expecting an offensive shootout, I was pretty damn good. It's really difficult to predict that, but I was pretty close. But entering the fourth quarter, or pretty far into the fourth quarter, 5 minutes in, Florida scores a touchdown to make it 35-30. This game's close, but then LSU ends up putting it away. 17-point win for LSU. LSU's defense, man, they've got to get shit done. I mean, it's Florida. Florida's not the best team ever. They're 5-5. They've got to figure it out. Yawn. Just love it. Yawn. Duke at North Carolina. Dude, I called for the upset. Of course, it was kind of a wacky call without Riley Leonard being in the game. And they had this guy, Grayson Loftus, in, who looks kind of weird. But let me just say, I mean, dude, Drake May fucking balled. North Carolina gets a rivalry win, 45-47. A huge win in terms of, ACC championship talk and whatnot. I mean, I guess they're still in the bubble. And, I mean, if they win out, they could be, a 10-2 team. But they've got to play at Clemson, in which Clemson's already favored by 6.5. And they've got to play at NC State. I think NC State wins that. But, yeah, this game was phenomenal for Drake May. Duke made a last quarter comeback. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, really. I guess like 5 seconds into the fourth quarter, North Carolina scores a touchdown to make the score 14-26. 14-26 at the start of the fourth quarter. It's like, all right, low scoring game. And then you see the final score and you're like, how the hell did that happen? It just turned into an offensive matchup just like that. Duke touchdown. Duke touchdown. North Carolina touchdown. Duke touchdown. North Carolina field goal. Go to overtime. 2 field goals. And then North Carolina touchdown, 2-point conversion. And if somebody made it this far in the video and knows, I don't know because I watched the highlights of this game. Drake May got hit on that 2-point conversion, and I don't think he got back up. It would be nice to know if he did or if he just got hurt. It would just be nice to know. So please let me know. But North Carolina pulls off a huge win, a major rivalry win. It's kind of shit that Duke is a 4-loss team now because they are so much better than this if they had Riley Leonard. But Duke just couldn't win this one on the road. USC at Oregon to finish things off. Do not be deceived by this final score. I said Oregon would kill them. It was a lot closer, but that's because Oregon was up 36-14 at the start of the fourth quarter, and USC started to put together a fairy tale comeback. I mean, that's really a lot of talk in the Pac-12. They like to make these games closer, but that's the last game. Oh, let me just say Bo Nix should be the Heisman candidate this year. He should win the Heisman with the way he's performing. But now, this is our last game of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed. A like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps, and that's all for me. Adios.